Ani Road to bitumen standards, yet funds were allocated for the same? 2, what is the current status of the contract in view of the fact that the completion dates have since lapsed and the project is yet to be completed? 3, what measures are in place to ensure speedy completion of the said road, and when is this project expected to be completed? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. That one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. Next is the member for Kaloleni, Honorable Paul Katana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question 114 of 2020 to the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury and Planning. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain why funds earmarked from implementation of various projects under the Equalization Fund as completed under Article 204(2) of the Constitution have not been disbursed for the last 4 consecutive financial years, that is 2016, 2017 to 2019 to 2020. Yet most projects in schools, health facilities, roads, and water provisions across the country have stalled. When will the funds be disbursed to various ministries and departments to enable revival of the stalled projects and ensure their completion? Thank you.
Very well. That one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. Luckily, the chair is seated very close to where you are posing your question. Now, let's go to the member for Butere constituency, Honorable Tindi Mwale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 121 of 2020. And this question, Mr. Speaker, goes to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government. The question goes, Mr. Speaker, when will the ministry deploy more police officers to Butere constituency, considering the reduced number as a result of the transition of administration police officers to the Kenya Police Service in the Butere constituency? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. Then we go to the member for Emuhaya, Honorable Omboko Milemba. And from my records, Honorable Tindi, you have a seat. You seem to have come from elsewhere, but you have a seat in the chamber. I believe that is the one designated to you. Okay.
Thank you.
And we are about 15 minutes after the hour. In fact, we are slightly more than that. So we must start giving out the chairs that have not occupied.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would wish to ask question number 123 of 2020 to the Cabinet Secretary for Education. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain why technical and vocational education and training, in bracket TVET trainers, were transferred from Teachers Service Commission payroll to the Public Service Commission in February-March 2019 without having in place the scheme?
Just for record, Honorable Member for Emuhaya, is it 2020 or 2019?
Honorable Speaker, I have been in the table room for about 40 minutes, and there were quite a number of errors. So we did
Position
correct.
Is 2019.
2019. We did correct with them, and they asked me to put it here. They will be correcting us. They take it to the Cabinet.
That is okay. That is okay.
Thank you. Commission in February, March 2019, without having in place a scheme of service for the said trainers, causing them to miss out on their phase 3 and phase 4 of the Teachers Service Commission scheme of service under the collective bargaining agreement of 2016. Number 2, why the said trainers were not issued with new employment appointment letters upon being transferred from the Teacher Service Commission payroll to the Public Service Commission. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
This one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Education and Research, but I noticed that there are quite a number of modifications and additions by the member. They should be captured on this particular one. But in future, should there be issues that really add quite a number of matters into a question that has already been disbursed to the ministries, it's a better way is to put it to the next sitting and make the question appear in the order paper as required. But on this one, we will use the Hansard to capture it. So let's proceed to the next one. That is the member for Tarbaj, Honorable Bashane Gal.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to ask question 126 of 2020 to the Cabinet Secretary for Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. Question 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary give the status of provision of water to residents of Tarbaj constituency? 2. Could the Cabinet Secretary give the reasons for delays in the implementation of Tarbaj water supply project in Tarbaj constituency? 3. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain what caused the elevated steel water tank for the said project to collapse twice and give the measures taken by the Ministry to ensure that the tank is constructed to the set standards and becomes operational? 4. Could the Cabinet Secretary confirm that the Northern Water Board is competent enough to manage this project and other similar water projects, similar future projects? 5. What measures are in place to ensure that the project is completed as soon as possible? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. And that one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. The last question this morning is by the member for Kinango, Honorable Benjamin Dalu Stephen Tayari. That looks like two members in one.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask question 127 of 2020, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Forestry. Roman 1, could the Cabinet Secretary explain how and who authorized for quarry mining in Mwache Forest, despite the area having been listed as a gazetted forest? Roman 2, what measures are in place to ensure urgent rehabilitation of destroyed sections of the forest area is carried out with a view to ensuring its restoration? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. That will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Then we go to the next order.
Order number 8, the Refugees Bill, National Assembly Bill number 62 of 2019. Second reading question to be put.
This one had been finalized, debate had been finalized. What remained was a question to be put. And having confirmed that we have the required quorum within this chamber and the holding areas, I proceed to put the question, which is that the Refugee Bill, National Assembly Bill number 62 of 2019, be now read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of Parliament to provide for the recognition, protection, and management of refugees, to give effect to the 1951 United Nations Conventions relating to the status of refugees, the 1967 Protocol relating to the status of refugees, and the 1969 OAU Convention governing the specific aspects of refugee problems in Africa, and for connected purposes. Order number 9, Committee of the Whole House.
Order members, we are now in the Committee of the Whole, a fairly straightforward bill here. The Public Finance Management Amendment number 2, Bill 2020. I guess we'll take not very many minutes on this.
Clause 2.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 2 be part of the bill. There's a proposed amendment, right? Yes, Honorable Wanga.
Thank you, Chair.
As a chair of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I beg to move that clause 2 be amended as proposed in the order paper. Honorable Chair, this is basically just cleaning up that clause, because what it says is currently the bill says the annual turnover, the definition of a micro enterprise, that the annual turnover does not exceed 100 million, but it does not provide for a lower limit. The upper limit for a small enterprise is 5 million. So we are just including that now the range will be between 5 million and 100 million. It does not fundamentally for the medium enterprise. So for small, the upper limit is 5 million. So we are saying for medium, the range should be from 5 million to 100 million. So there's no major alteration. It's just a cleaning up of that. Thank you, Chair.
Very well. Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 2 be amended as proposed by the chair. Honorable members, I now put the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 2 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Yes, Honorable Malwa, what is your point of order? What is your seat number there? Let me give you
Down there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, what the Chair of Finance, Honorable Wanga, has just proposed, there's no really demarcation.
Order,
It is true, it should have been more than 5 million, but less than 100.
Order, Honorable Malwa. Are you speaking on the clause that the House has just
yeah,
made a
because you
decision
wanted clarity, there's a problem, there's a confusion.
Order, members. If you want it
But
to
you
be
are not
brought back.
seeing, I had put intervention, but you're not seeing.
Very well, Honorable Malwa. If you wanted an intervention on this,
You are
the
not
body to be
seeing.
returned, there is a procedure of returning it. The House has made a decision, Honorable Malwa.
But it should
And
be
you are
up
very
to
vast.
5 million, and it should be more than 5
Very
million,
well,
but less than
Honorable
100 million. That clarity needs to be
Honorable
there.
Malwa,
Yes.
there is a procedure of returning the clause if you want it returned.
Clause 3.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 3 be part of the bill. There is a proposed amendment. Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I beg to move that clause 3 be amended as proposed in the order paper. Chair, it's just another cleanup for consistency, because what the published bill says is, notwithstanding the provisions of subsection 2, the Cabinet Secretary shall, with respect to credit guarantees extended to private borrowers who are micro, small, or medium enterprises, provide the information specified in section 59A2 when Parliament makes a request. But the preceding clause speaks to when the houses of any of the houses of Parliament, or either of the houses of Parliament. So we are just cleaning that clause so that it is consistent with the preceding clause. I beg to move, Chair.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 3 be amended as proposed by the Chair. I now put the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed by the Chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Order, members. Yeah. Honorable Kanini, you must give space to Honorable Majority Leader so that he can vote. And all the other members. I will take that again. Honorable members, I now put the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed by the Chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 3 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
I propose a question that clause 4 be part of the bill. Honorable Chair, you have an amendment.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chair, I beg to move that clause 4 be amended as provided in the, or as proposed in the order paper. Honorable Chair, clause 4 as drafted had some drafting challenges because it does not come out expressly, because what it says is that if you look at clause 4, subsection 5 there, notwithstanding the provisions of subsection 2C, in the case of a private borrower to whom credit is extended for enterprise development or other purpose as may be prescribed by the Cabinet Secretary and does not have sufficient security for the loan, the Cabinet Secretary shall not guarantee the credit extended to such a borrower under subsection 1 unless, and so on. So what we want to say is actually what the Cabinet Secretary may do, not what he may not, what he may do. So the redrafting is to provide for what the Cabinet Secretary may guarantee. So the redrafted one says it's been divided into 2 portions. Notwithstanding provisions of subsection 2C, the Cabinet Secretary may guarantee. Now we are saying they may guarantee credit which is extended to a private borrower for enterprise development or such other purpose as the Cabinet Secretary may prescribe, where the borrower does not have sufficient security. Then B, it now gives the conditions under B. So what we've done there is clean it up, but also add a few conditionalities. And one of those is that the micro, small, and medium enterprise that is being guaranteed should be a registered business or company under the relevant laws. Because what we had earlier was only that registered by county governments. And then what we've also added is a registered taxpayer and is in compliance with the relevant tax laws. What we had earlier there is the borrower has complied with the relevant tax laws. And we've also added one more part, part E there, which is not part of any group or related to any enterprise which would otherwise not be eligible for the credit guarantee under this section. What that does is protects the MSMEs from large enterprises which will now decide to register micro enterprises related to them for purposes of benefiting from this credit guarantee. So that is what it protects there. So thank you. I beg to move, Chair.
Honourable members, I propose the question that clause 4 be amended as proposed by the chair. Yes, let's have 2 members. Honourable Sankok.
Early 1980s and 1990s, the government had to clear the AFC loan because it was guaranteed based on tribal lines and who is who in that particular administration at that time. So I still think the chair should come out clear. How will we protect the government from guaranteeing individuals, especially based on tribal lines? Thank you very much, Chair.
Honourable Chair, I'll give you a stab on it, but before then, Honourable Makali.
Yeah, thank you, Honourable Chair. I want to say, even as I support this amendment, I need to make just the following observations for record purposes. Honourable Chair, I think even as we want to make sure that the money goes to the smart micro enterprises, it is important that we don't open gates where the money could end up in the wrong people, with the wrong people and basically the wrong institutions. So, Honourable Chair, what I would propose is, even as we are giving the Cabinet Secretary a lot of powers, and I think during the second reading we did say that it would be important if, as we go to the implementation phase, people could start thinking of a board which will be approving some of these things, rather than just an individual. Because in the past, such powers have been abused, and we need to make sure that they are not abused a second time. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Very well. Before Honourable Bui, let's have Honourable Minority Leader.
Chair, I want to support these amendments. One, I think I agree with the committee completely, and the chair, that really you need to define what the Cabinet Secretary is supposed to do, not what he's not supposed to do, because leaving it too open, and in matters of finance, you need to be clear on what are the conditions that would allow the micros, small and medium enterprises to qualify for the loan. So I think that, to me, is tight enough. There is also the part B, where now it is clear on women, youth, and persons with disabilities need special consideration. But
GA, the new GA, the maximum percentage of the scheme funds which may be used to guarantee any individual borrower. I agree with that, but I just hope that in the regulations, we should try also to spell out the percentage guarantee that can be given to an individual borrower out of the requirement, so that each individual borrower, we also determine how much the maximum that can be guaranteed. Otherwise, if you just leave it open, then some people may even ask for far too much beyond what their capacity is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support.
Honorable Bui, we can have two other members and we make progress. Honorable Chair, I'll give you a second stab on this towards the end. Honorable Bui.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chair, I wish to say that, this is a point at which this law is actually being made. And we have to be very, very careful how we handle this part, and maybe we be careful not to rush it. I know that there is a bit of pressure to finish off. So when the chair was given an opportunity, she's explained it very well. But this last part that the minority leader has raised is very critical, because I think what you've done is really commendable, because you've basically, not only have you in the first part stated the groups that should benefit and those that cannot, and how to avoid it, to have people benefiting indirectly, you've also specified how this money should actually be shared. Because you've said that there has to be a maximum percentage of the scheme that may be given to any individual person, which makes a lot of sense. Then the mechanisms for access to this money, which is important, and you've mentioned the women and the youth, which is also legal, and people with disabilities. And then even mechanisms for recovering the money. I think these are things that are very, very important, and the period within which, period of default of 6 months. So I think basically, I was just saying that the chair needs to be given time to explain our amendments properly so that we don't rush as we contribute. Thank you.
Very well, honorable members. Let's make progress on this, but seems to have a bit of interest. If we could get 1 minute each, then I give the chair. I'll give you majority leader, but before majority leader, allow me to give Honorable Russell.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Mr. Chairman, I have a problem with this particular law. I'm happy the gracious Chair has been able to explain, but I think there is very little safeguard in terms of the law that is suggested before us. If you go to C, D, and E, actually it's so nebulous. This is taxpayers' money that will be available to individuals, to groups, companies. And if there is no safeguard, really, it is like throwing away good money. And we need to really be seized of that matter. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Majority Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chair, I think there's I obviously support the amendment, which is an enrichment of the bill. I actually see from the comments made by the members that there is a misunderstanding.
Order, Honorable Majority Leader. Yeah. There's very high note consultation. There are members who are consulting very loudly outside. Honorable Sankoko is calling it high voltage consultation. Could the sergeant at arms let the members consult in lower tone, those who are outside the chamber? Yes, Honorable Majority Leader.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think I see two bits of confusion that members may be reacting to. One is that the Chair of Finance has only moved Part A, not B. So we are debating something that has not been moved and explained. Then number two is also that, and I think we raised this, we brought this out during the second reading, this is not a fund to be distributed or dished out. This is a credit guarantee scheme that is available for people who borrow
from the banks, and the government undertakes to borrow, to guarantee in case of a default, right? And typically, if you think of the number of defaulters, will be about in the order of 10% of the borrowers. So the government is only saying, if one falls within that 10%, they will guarantee to the bank that that defaulter will be paid for from the money. So the banks can then multiply. So it's not money being distributed like the Wezo Fund or the Women Fund. This is money being put aside to guarantee a potential defaulter. There may never be a defaulter, especially with the safeguards that were there in the bill and what the committee has added. And members may need to look at the bill plus the addition to appreciate the full safeguards that have been put there, which I'm very happy with.
Very well, Honorable Majority Leader, given that guidance. Honorable Tidi, don't you want the chair to speak to this? If you could then have 1 minute, then we make progress on this really.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the amendment. Mr. Speaker, considering the fact that this amendment is going to favor people who are just freshly starting business, especially the youth and the women, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have had situations where bureaucracy has always made the youth and the women not to do very well in business, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I just want to ask my colleagues to accept this amendment, because this amendment is going to give those startup entrepreneurs an opportunity to grow their business, and overall, the economy of the Republic will grow. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I support the amendment. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, if you could take a second stab and explain yourself to all the sub-clauses under that clause 4.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to thank the members because they have debated it well. It is me who inadvertently did not explain the amendments in Part B, but I should have before I moved. So let me just explain that in Clause 8 of the bill, or sub-clause 8, where it provides that the Cabinet Secretary shall prescribe regulations for operation of the scheme under subsection 7, which shall provide for the following. So those are provided in the bill, but we are adding that in doing the regulations, the Cabinet Secretary should also look at the maximum percentage of the scheme funds which may be used to guarantee an individual borrower. And here we are trying to deal with the concern of members that some large borrowers can take majority of the money, and then the micro enterprises end up with nothing. And then we have also said there that we must have mechanisms to ease access to credit guarantees by enterprises owned by women, youth, and persons with disabilities. And I'm sure nominee 001 will agree with me on that one. Honorable Chair, mechanisms for recovering the money from the borrower where the credit guarantee is liquidated. There were lots of concerns raised of people getting the guarantee, and then the guarantee is liquidated and they just walk away. So here, there must be mechanisms within the regulations to know that if you default and the government guarantee is liquidated, you don't just walk away scot-free. We must find mechanisms of recovering that money so that the contingent liability for government is also not raised unnecessarily. Honorable Chair, and a limit period of default to a maximum of 6 months, just so that there is not too much room for people to default and keep staying away. And so, Chair, I just wanted to explain that, and also just to say to the Honorable Makali, the concerns that he raised both in the second reading and now, there is the MSMEs Authority, which is already up and running, and they will definitely have a role in how this scheme is rolled out. So I think that is already covered. So thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Very well, Honorable Members. I now put the question that Clause 4 be amended as proposed by the Chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that Clause 4, as amended, be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 5.
I propose the question that Clause 5 be part of the bill. We have an amendment, Honorable Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chair, Clause 5 is basically about reporting, and there were many concerns raised by members as to the issue of reporting. Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Leader. I beg to move that clause 5 be amended as proposed in the order paper. And now I explain the import. Thank you, Leader, for shepherding me along. It's my maiden...
You are doing very well, Honorable Chair, so far.
Thank you. So what we are saying is, in reporting, we would like to have the Cabinet Secretary providing not just aggregated information, but information disaggregated by A, providing the information on the total value of the credit guarantees, disaggregated into the number of enterprises owned by women, youth, and persons with disabilities, which have been guaranteed, just so that we know and we hold the Cabinet Secretary accountable to those guarantees that have been provided. And then B, information on the total value of credit guarantees disaggregated into the number of micro, small, and medium enterprises, because we don't want a situation where the medium enterprises have taken everything and the micro enterprises have taken nothing. But also, we want that by respective regions, because this was an issue that was raised a lot in the second reading, that guarantees can go to just one place. So we would like that report to disaggregate how this has been done and by region. Chair, I beg to move.
Honorable members, I propose a question. Honorable members, let me propose a question first. Then I'll give you, I'll give two members or so. I propose a question that clause 5 be amended as proposed by the chair. Can we have just a few members? Let's start with the minority leader, Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Chairman, let me thank and congratulate the committee for bringing this amendment. Mr. Chairman, when we were contributing in the second reading of this bill, actually I talked about possibility of the Cabinet Secretary having been given a lot of powers to this bill, which, looking back again, I say may be necessary, but there is need for accountability, because we have previously had cases where people are put in public offices favoring certain regions with public resources in terms of allocation. And so if the committee has brought this amendment, I'm very happy and excited that at least now there will be disclosure of how much goes where, and even to disaggregate it in terms of small enterprises, medium, and micro enterprises, and also to find out how many youths and how many women enterprises, and those enterprises owned by persons living with disabilities have benefited from this guarantee. Because this is the scheme is being set up from public funds. So I just wanted to say congratulations to the committee. Thank you very much for a job well done in bringing this amendment.
Honorable Majority Whip, because of the interest, I will get a few more members to speak to this.
Oh, give me them. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Chair, I just want to thank...
Sorry, I inadvertently gave you a mic. You get your chance, but now it's Honorable Angwe.
Thank you. Chair, I want to thank the committee through the chair for this amendment, and I want to support it. Why I want to support it, Honorable Chair, is the issue where most of the cabinet secretaries do not disclose what is happening under their control. And Honorable Chair, the committee has considered this, and reading it together with the Article 35 of the Constitution on disclosure of information. Honorable Chair, this will give the country and the people a wider knowledge on what is actually happening, where has the money gone. The money will not go to one region, but the money belongs to the entire country, and everyone, regardless of his status, will be able to know what has been used and where. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Amaro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity. I want to thank the committee for that particular amendment, Mr. Chairman. Indeed, it's going to confirm whether there is accountability and matters of integrity. How I had wished, Mr. Chairman, because there was a critical segmentation in terms of elderly, the youth, the women, how I had wished that there was also for elderly, because elderly, Mr. Chairman, they're also endangered. And I'm saying this because you remember this money that they've been giving out to the elderly. Even in some regions, we are told they receive certain amount, other regions it's not. So the issue of bringing that regional balancing, we can be able to look into it and see whether there is aspect of accountability, the face of Kenya, and what have you. Otherwise, I support the amendment, Mr. Chairman. I thank you.
Honorable Pukose. What's your...
Chair, thank you, Chair. Chair, I stand to support this amendment. Chair, you find that even with the passage of the law to guarantee that we give 30% to the youths, women, and the people with disability, that has not been happening within, because you'll find that more often they've been given work, that even when you ask ministries to account for the 30%, whether it has been given to youth, it is a very gray area. So I think with this kind of an amendment, it will be able, this is an improvement in the right direction. And going even further to explain that we must also disaggregate, even indicate the regions, so that each region is able to benefit. And I think that is the way we should be able to move as a country. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Masara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to support this amendment, Mr. Chairman, because one, information is power. And through this amendment, the information will be availed for people to make a decision. As well, the amendment is going to increase what's called fairness in terms of distribution, since the people concerned will be aware that information regarding how it was guarantee was distributed will be out in public. Therefore, there will be fairness. Chairman, I want to say that this amendment also will correct some historical injustices which has been done, because when we talk about regions, if we go back and look at the history of how AFC funds were distributed, you realize that some areas never benefited. But with such amendment and put in place in the bill, all regions, I believe, I suppose, will benefit from such a fund. I really thank the committee through their chair for making this amendment a reality. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Honorable Tim Wanyonyi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want just to support the committee for this amendment, Mr. Speaker, especially now that persons with disabilities are guaranteed, and also that mention of regions, it just spreads out the benefit to the whole country. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this amendment.
Honorable members, why don't we make progress on this relay? Let's. Let me give two members. Yes, there is interest. Let me give. Start with the honorable member standing. It's not you that I'm giving. It is Honorable Ogutu.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I want to thank the committee for considering this particular portion on reporting. I have no problem, Chair, with the category that must be covered in the section on reporting. But I have only one major problem on an element that has excited everybody in this floor. That is bringing in the region. Chair, I notice that we are bringing in the region on reporting, but we have not also demanded the CS when the funds are being dispersed, that the element of region comes up. You can't report what you have not demanded. So I think, Chair, mine will be like, we have to think about that line. Two, is that we have also to be very clear whether the CS is also helping this country to work towards clear targets. So I'm very sure that the committee may want to look at this and maybe come up with targets so that we are able to hold the CS accountable. I support, Chair. Thank you.
Two more members, Honorable Gekaria.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
First, I want to thank the committee for bringing up this amendment. But, Honourable Chair, the amendment as it is talks about information, but it doesn't give a time frame. Is it quarterly? Is it half yearly? Is it yearly? And I think it is important for us to have, because sometimes, Honourable Chair, as we seek for accountability and other things, then we must. So it's up to the committee to make its responsibility, maybe, and be asking for this kind of information, say quarterly or half yearly. There is no much information that will be given after a long time and the mess has already been done. So we would wish to have a period under which this information should be availed to the committee for purposes of correcting the things that we want to be corrected. Otherwise, if you have an information for a whole 1 year and the mess has already happened, then we cannot be able to help. Thank you, Mr. Chair. But I support the amendment.
Honourable Kari, I'm not speaking for the chair, but I thought section 59A2 says once every year.
I stand guided. Thank you, Honourable Chair. Thank you.
As and when we request.
As when the House requests. Let me get this member who, with a mask, I can't tell. Oh, yes, Honourable Atadi, sorry. With a mask.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Let me begin by congratulating the new Chair for Finance for such an intelligent presentation in this bill. Chair, I want to go straight and support the amendments. But, Chair, I like the safeguards that have been put on the question of ensuring that there's regional reporting. But, Chair, my concern is that we are not sure whether this law has put other safeguards to ensure that a businessman in Siaya will be given this guarantee scheme. What about if, for instance, we wait for the reports and the CS says we did not get businessmen from Kisumu, from Siaya, to partake of this credit scheme? So I think that needs to come out in this law so that we are sure that everybody was given an opportunity to benefit from this scheme. I think this is something that I think some members are concerned about. And I don't think it's very clear in the bill. Thank you, but I support.
We must make progress now, honourable members. I now put the question that clause 5 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 5 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
I propose a question that the title be the title of the bill. There are no amendments to that. I therefore put the question that the title be the title of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I propose a question that clause 1 be part of the bill. There are no amendments to that. I therefore put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? Aye. The ayes have it. Honourable members, you are done with the bill. Congratulations on Abuanga.
Thank you.
You've been your first bill mover.
Thank you, Chair.
The leader of majority party.
Honourable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Public Finance Management Bill, number 2, the National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2020, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Honourable members, I put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Public Finance Management Amendment number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2020, and its approval thereof with amendments. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker.
So we are done.
Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Public Finance Management Amendment Number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill Number 23 of 2020, and approved the same with amendments.
Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I also request Honorable Wanga, the Chair of Finance, to second the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
The Honorable Member for Homa Bay, done? Right. Honorable members, allow me to propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Is it the mood of the House that we put the question? Very well. Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Public Finance Management Amendment Number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill Number 23 of 2020, be now read a third time. I also request Honorable Wanga, the Chair of Finance, to second.
The Honorable Wanga.
Go on.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the third reading of this bill, and I'd like to thank members for their very, very important input into making this bill a better bill. And I'd like to thank also members of my committee who, despite the very short notice, managed to come together to make this happen, and the staff of the committee as well, and the clerk's office. Honorable Speaker, I hope that the National Treasury has taken note of the debate of the members and will make sure that this particular guarantee scheme reaches as many people as possible in every region in this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well done, the Honorable Wanga. We'll have, do we have a comment from the Leader of Minority? No, sorry. Honorable members, these special times have rusted some of us from these processes. Allow me, members, to propose the question, which is that the Public Finance Management Amendment Number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill Number 23 of 2020, be now read a third time. And this is the time now we can have a comment from the Leader of Minority, the Honorable Mbadi.
Mr. Speaker, at this stage is just some short, quick comments that we'll make on the bill, because the bill has been debated extensively at the second reading. But I just wanted to say that from some of the contributions, I realized that probably we need to understand the import of this bill properly. The import of this bill is to provide a credit guarantee scheme. It's the borrowing will be through financial institutions. So let's not leave this place and start telling our constituents who own enterprises that the government is now going to give them loans. The loans is still going to be, what the government is setting up is a fund to guarantee, to make it easy for these small, medium, and micro enterprises to access loans that they would otherwise not access if there was no credit guarantee given to them. So that is what I wanted to say, that this is actually, and the chair of the committee, while explaining one of the amendments, came out very clearly that this is a credit guarantee scheme. But I want to thank the government for taking this step at this time. I just hope that this scheme is going to be administered properly to realize its very objective for which it is set up. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Thank you for that clarification, the Honorable Mbadi. The next comment will be by the Honorable Masara Francis. The Honorable Masara Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What I want to say is that the bill is timely, because as we are facing this pandemic of corona, many businesses are going to close down. Therefore, so many may not get opportunity to get guarantees. So when such a bill is in place, it will enable small and medium enterprises to access loans to revamp their businesses so that they can participate in rebuilding the economy. Mr. Speaker, such a moves will enable many people who have not invested so much to get access to loans to get capital. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Ogutwabel, member for Bomachoge Borak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that if this country has to transform in line with Vision 2030, I think a number of sectors need to improve the way they respond and act towards the SMEs. In this particular case, I want to look at those who receive services, and then especially from the people in the SMEs. And the payment for these services has been a big challenge, especially by the county government. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that as the committee continues to look on ways to improve the financing of SMEs, we also need to look at the way the people who receive the services from SMEs handle them in terms of their payments. I think this is a major loophole that is frustrating the youth, that is frustrating the people with disabilities in the rural areas who are attempting to try to contribute to the national economy, and yet they are not being assisted through the developed systems. Mr. Speaker, I support.
The Honorable Russell, member for Saku.
Atandi, I didn't expect.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I thank the Chair for Finance for this bill, and she eloquently presented it. Mr. Speaker, if we must grow the economy, many Kenyans should be able to borrow money, pay taxes, and do business. The experience that we are getting with the Chinese who are doing business in Kenya, actually we are told that their banks in their home countries actually are guaranteeing loans. They are getting money from their government. And that is why they are able to do much more business in our country than our own countrymen and women. I think this bill will go in the right direction. Finally, it is about safeguard for this money, because for many years, Kenyans have borrowed money and they have not been able to return this money. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Sangok.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, and it seems the new chairman of Finance, Honorable Gladys Wanga, have started in a high voltage. In fact, she have started with what we call economy recovery after the COVID-19, post-COVID-19, because after COVID-19, we will realize that so many SMEs will crumble. But with such guarantees that the government will guarantee loans to the youth, persons with disability, and women who traditionally do not have assets. Some of them don't have title deeds to be able to guarantee themselves to get loans. So, Honorable Speaker, this is an idea which is very nice, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, but I want to caution the Treasury, the Ministry of Finance or Treasury, Honorable Speaker, so that this one will not be like the access to government procurement opportunity by the three category of the marginalized groups or the affirmative action group, Honorable Speaker. Because you realize in the ACPO, access to government procurement opportunity, those tenders allocated to youth, women, and persons with disability, Honorable Speaker, have been tenders that will not give any economic empowerment to the youth or to the person with disability, because they give them, they reserve tenders of supply of toothpick, supply of toilet papers, supply of newspapers to that category. And the big mega tenders are set aside to those who are known or those who are who in the society. So I hope the guarantee will be equitable. It will guarantee all persons with disability, women and youth, on equal measures without the basis of who is who, and be regionally balanced so that somebody from Lamu is given a guarantee that somebody from Marsabit is given and somebody from Kisumu. And even if the cabinet secretary comes from a certain region, we like that all regions are treated